Funnels were the topic of discussion in 2025. Everyone was focusing on the top, middle, bottom funnel content to grow their online coaching business. But the one thing that this has turned into is generating very, very low quality leads for your high ticket services. And today we're going to go in and actually fix that for you with the content funnel that actually works. So going into the purpose of this, and based off of what we know from the past content funnel, the top, middle, bottom funnel, we are told that 80 to 90% of our videos should be those very, very broad top of funnel content that attracts new eyes and gets new eyes to our profile that we can use to leverage our middle funnel and bottom funnel content with. The problem with this is, what does that generate? It generates a lot of very broad audience leads, and top of funnel content might grow your profile, but it definitely doesn't scale your coaching business. And you have to understand, are we here at the end of the day to grow our profile or scale our coaching business? Obviously, option number B. So let's make a content funnel that actually qualifies and nurtures high quality leads so you can sign them for your high ticket coaching service. Let's dive right in. So how we're told the content funnel works, right? So we have our top, middle, and bottom funnel content. The top of funnel content, this is going to be all of your broad content that really just generates eyes for your page. So these are going to be very viral pattern interrupts. These might be hot takes. These can also be like showing off videos. So like in like the fitness space, this could be like a physique video. Or if you're in like the business space, this would be like flexing, showing off cars and stuff, right? So it's just very, very broad. Examples of this, the worst advice new entrepreneurs still follow in 2025. Now, the purpose of this in the old content funnel is to be very broad, to speak to a very large audience, right? And that's gonna be your top of funnel. Middle funnel, this is where we educate. So this is where we target more towards our ICP, and we're using this to build trust and authority. So this is gonna be all like educational style videos. This can also be you showing off your client wins, testimonies, showing the proof in your services as well too, but typically with some sort of education. So like an example of a video for like this could be like showing off a client transformation and then going through the exact steps of how you got that client from point A to point Z. And that's a great middle funnel content. Now, bottom funnel content, this is where we basically give our call to action. This is where leads actually take action on what we do. So this is after leads have gone through the top, middle, and now they're at the bottom. They're supposed to be nurtured, warmed, and ready to actually commit. So this is all posts with like calls to actions, either DM us X, Y, and Z, and we'll reach out, or this could be a post with a call to action on the bottom of it. And again, this is just the broad overview of how the past content funnel works, just to refresh our minds. But how most people are using this content funnel, like I said, they're posting about 60% of their content as top of funnel content. So that means 60% of the content that they're posting is not targeted to a specific ICP. It's just broad, right? And then middle of funnel, that's their education. That's where they're trying to find their ICP. And they make about 25% of their content there, with about 15% of the content being call to actions. That bottom of funnel could go anywhere from 10 to 15%, but that's typically what we're seeing heading into 2026. But what does this result in? This here is why you get low quality leads. Because let's go back here for a second. If you are making broad content at this top of funnel, and everything you're speaking to is broad, and then you eventually try to target your ICP in middle funnel and bottom funnel, what you've just done is brought in shit to your profile, and then now you're expecting to find the diamond in the rough of shit to find quality leads to nurture for your middle funnel and bottom of funnel. So what this results in a repetitive cycle of is you attracting very low ticket leads, and then attempting to nurture them with your middle funnel and bottom funnel, and then nobody taking action. And that's just the case of what this results in, right? Because if you start with shit at the top, yes, we're filtering it out as we go down, but you're still gonna get shit at the bottom of your funnel. And that's the problem that most coaches are dealing with right now. So what we're here for, let's fix this. So I'm gonna be showing you guys the content funnel that actually works following this same 3-pillar system. So this is how we want to be using the content funnel. And as you know, has a bit of a reverse. Now, the reason why is that you'll see when we actually break down each section, we essentially want to be using our bottom of funnel as our top of funnel. And you might be like, what? No, and I'm not saying about calls to actions, I'm not saying about those kind of posts, but I'm saying directly targeting your ICP needs to be in all levels of your content funnel system. Now, the reason why And the reason why this works so well as we get into each section is right now we are in what's called a trust recession. There's so many online coaches doing exactly what you do. There are so many people out there making the same viral content that you are making. People don't care about little easy tips and tricks. They want to be educated, right? So even as you'll notice in comparison, our bottom of funnel content, we are only posting about 10% of that. And the reason why is people are done being sold. People will sell themselves off of your education. If you come across as someone that they can trust and someone who's authoritative, they will buy from you, right? So you don't need to be spamming top of funnel content that just attracts a bunch of broad shitters and expecting them to nurture and qualify them as they get to the bottom funnel and then spamming them with call to actions. What we really, really want our focus to be on, as you can see from this arrow right here in the middle of the screen, is on our middle of funnel content. And let's break down each stage so you can understand. So, top of funnel. Again, now, this is only going to be about 50% of our content. The same goals apply. So we're still trying to get attention, we're still trying to pattern interrupt, and we're still trying to build familiarity. But the only difference is that we are not targeting broad audiences, we are now targeting only our ICP. So example, if you're a fitness coach, rather than making your broad claims about just fitness claims, target it towards your ICP. So let's say you work with men who are getting married and they want to get into shape. Rather than giving fitness tips on how anyone can get into shape, specify it for your ICP. This is going to be very direct value, hot takes, and again, same thing, still showing off posts. Those all work great as well too. And now let's go through and make some examples of this that we can compare to our last examples. So if you're an out of shape man over 40, these are the 3 ways that you can lose 50 pounds in 6 months. Now, why does this work? It works because we're calling out men over 40, which is a much more qualified audience than people who are younger. And you are telling them exactly what it is that they can do. So you're hitting their pain points with losing the 50 pounds in the time frame of 6 months. But again, we're calling out to that more qualified audience of men over the age of 40. Now, this one down here, if you bought 10 challenges and failed all, in the next 2 minutes, I'm going to show you how my students are passing with a 99% pass rate. So this would be for like trading coaches. But again, as well too, how this qualifies is essentially it's speaking in the audience's language of people who know what big funded challenges are, right? They know what funded accounts are, right? People who are brand new to trading don't know what these things are. So another great way that we can call out our ICP and top of funnel without being like, if you were a man who's this old, is using the direct language that only that ICP would know. So if you're speaking in only a language that they would understand, that's going to target your top quality ICP. Now, as well too, one thing I didn't touch on is that if we are going too broad in our top of funnel content, you look like you can help everybody. No one wants, if people are looking for a coach that help men over the age of 40 lose weight, they are not going to be signing up with a fitness coach that can help everyone. They want someone who understands their pain points and can actually relate to them. So that's why it's very important that we target our ICP in all levels of the content funnel, is because now, who are we bringing in from this top of funnel content? Yes, these videos might not get as many views, but views do not scale your business. But this is calling in directly to your ICP so that when we get to the middle funnel and bottom funnel content, who is going to be there? Your ICP. You're no longer going to be digging through shit for a diamond in the rough. Now let's go into middle of funnel. So same thing. Not much really changes here with the middle funnel content. The only real difference that we have here is we're posting more of it. Like I said, people don't want to be sold. People aren't responding to call to actions on stories, on posts, nearly as much as they used to be, because everyone knows what it leads to. What people want is to be educated and to see you as a trusted authority. So that's why by increasing the amount of middle funnel content that we have, it's just going to add layers to the top of funnel, right? So when those people come in from those more viral videos, they are getting so much education and you truly come across as the authoritative and trusted prospect in this space. Now, same rules still apply. Educational based videos, showing off good case testimonials and relating the case testimonials back to the audience is going to be absolutely huge through this. So some examples. If you're a coach making at least $5K per month, but struggling to break past that $10K per month ceiling, here's the 3-step content system I gave my clients just to do that. So funny, that's what I'm teaching you guys right now. This is here, as an example, is great middle of funnel content. right? Because I'm teaching coaches who is a specific ICP how to do something specific in their niche, right? Now, again, another example would be like, this is the exact process that I use to take my client X to achieve X result in X amount of time, right? And then that would be a video of you showing exactly how you gave those results. That is another great form of middle funnel content. It's anything educational, anything that shows off your authority and trust. But really with these, you want to keep the video, and like video length doesn't necessarily matter, but you want to be educational based. So really keeping this between like 45 seconds to a minute and a half of good compact information will be your best middle of funnel content system. But you do need, in all levels of this, and it's very important in your middle of funnel, that you're calling out directly towards your ICP. Now let's get into the last slide, which is going to be our bottom of funnel. So the one big difference with this as well too is we are reducing the amount of calls to action that we are taking on this. Now, why? We are in a spot, like I said, where we're in a trust recession. You don't want to come across as sales. You don't want to be coming across as the person that's posting a CTA on your story, non-freaking stop. And people understand exactly what that is. Rule of thumb that I would follow right now is number one, I wouldn't be doing any calls to action on your posts, only on your stories. Only ever on your stories would I recommend having calls to action. Now, I would have one CTA up there every 36 hours, and that's where I would focus it on. Now with this, you want to be showing off client wins, so screenshots, testimonials, etc., but with a clear call to action for the lead to take action on this. Because again, the purpose of this is qualifying, nurturing our top quality leads inside of our DMs or however you go about your sales process to eventually convert them over to an actual paid client. So think about it like this. Now we're at the bottom of our funnel. Okay, at the top of funnel, we target our ICP. We target our ICP here. Who is going to be at the bottom of our funnel? Just think, like use your brain. It's not going to be some random shitter that you're dealing with right now. It's going to be your direct ICP. So again, with this, we're not really changing up too much when it comes to the bottom of funnel. Is really solely just the frequency that we are posting the bottom of funnel content. Now, let's compare the two side by side, right? Comparing the left, this is the traditional content funnel system. You're looking at about 60% of your content is going to be that top of funnel, with about 25% being that middle funnel, and then 15% being that bottom funnel. And as we go through this, we're targeting broad at the very top up here, and then we go direct ICP here. Realistically, out of your broad targeting, how many, let's say out of 100 people, typically in the middle funnel, let's say there's 35 people left over. But if you're targeting broad, you can expect 2 to 3 of those to be your direct ICP. And now you're basically trying to convert 1 or 2 people with your bottom of funnel content versus when you do the content. When we do the reverse and we start targeting our ICP at the top, who is left at the bottom for our bottom of funnel content? Only our ICP. Realistically, when looking at this as like a big overview, the biggest change is happening in that top of funnel, right? Because we're only targeting our ICP, we are only speaking to that audience, and we come across as someone who's very trustworthy and authoritative. And if we look at this as a whole, now your entire content is targeted directly towards your ICP. Who do people think is going to be the pro, the person being able to help them directly with whatever it is that they're feeling if your content is only targeted towards your ICP? Obviously, you. So that is just a good little overview of it. And now let's actually go into building you a content schedule, because we actually need to plan for this, right? So like I said, 50% of our content is going to be top of funnel. And this is only going to be your reels. So we're not posting any stories at top of funnel, strictly only reels. And the focus of this is to target our ICP and bring eyes to our page. Now, middle of funnel content. It's going to be 35 to 45% of our content here, right? This is going to be education based, reels, carousels, stories, etc. But this is really going to be only targeting our ICP. Now, when it comes to like what kind of post, really focus this with reels and really focus this with posts. Like you can obviously make stories based off of this, but really, like I said, with the middle of funnel content, you're trying to be educational. So you're trying to take 45 seconds to a minute and a half of someone's time. Might be best to fill out on an Instagram reel, but again, we are only targeting our ICP. So the language that we speak in or our callouts are only targeted towards our ICP and nobody else. Now, lastly, we're gonna have our bottom of funnel content. With the bottom of funnel content, we literally are only posting stories with this. So like I said, we're not posting reels with this. Reels and posts with calls to actions truthfully do not work. The only reason why you do them is because they get comments on your post. But like I said, we're not trying to engagement farm here. We're not trying to grow our page. We are literally only solely trying to close more our clients for our high ticket business. So, like I said, one story every 36 hours is more than efficient or sufficient. And again, as well too, our educational, our middle of funnel is what is selling them, right? So by the time that they see the call to action, it's a quick action done by the lead, and that's when you get them in your DMs, however you go about your sales process, nurture them, close them, etc. So going through this, like I said, I'm not going to sit here and tell you you need to post 1 of these a day, 2 of these a day, 3 of these a day, because that's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. If you are focusing 50% of your content on the top of funnel, only targeting your ICP, you're posting your middle of funnel content 30 to 45%, 35 to 45%, and if you're doing your bottom of funnel content as well too, only on your stories about 10% of your content, you are actually going to have a real content system. If you're looking for someone who's just going to tell you to post this on this day, you came to the wrong place, and truthfully, there's no one that's going to know that better than you. So do the due diligence in yourself. What I would do is I'd look at your top of funnel content that's performed well, your middle of funnel content that's performed well, and your bottom funnel content that's performed well, and recreate those videos, but target the top of funnel to only targeting your ICP, and you will see the change in quality of leads that you have coming into your business. Now, if you guys have any questions about this, about your content, about how to target your ICP, please DM me on Instagram and I would love to get back to you guys. My @ is @LiamMWBrown. Again, if you have any questions about the content funnel system that we just made here, let me know over on Instagram and I would love to help you guys out. I look forward to talking with you guys soon. Peace.